What if the very people sworn to protect justice turned their guns not on a criminal, but on the loyal eyes of justice itself, a blind black woman's service dog? What if the victim they underestimated was not a helpless civilian, but a federal judge who held the power to turn the system inside out? Stay with me until the very end of this gripping true-to-life-inspired tale of arrogance, prejudice, corruption, and reckoning, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories that will shake your faith, test your heart, and open your eyes. It began on an ordinary Wednesday morning in a quiet neighborhood on the east side of Washington, D.C., where Judge Cassandra Milton, a 53-year-old federal judge who had served for over 2 decades, walked confidently down the cracked sidewalk with her loyal service dog, Justice, a massive black Labrador trained since puppyhood to be her guiding eyes after she had lost her vision in a car accident years earlier. And as always, Justice wore his harness, the bright neon vest reading, "Service Animal. Do not pet." Clear as day, but of course not every day was ordinary in America, and not every cop read the world with the clarity that the blind woman did through her faith in her canine companion, because that morning, a patrol car screeched to a halt across the street, tires squealing, lights flashing though no crime was in progress, and out jumped 2 white officers, their hands already at their weapons, barking orders like machine gun fire without thought or observation, one shouting, "Control your dog, ma'am. He looks aggressive." And Cassandra, startled but calm in her measured judicial way, raised her hand in a gesture of peace and responded, "Officers, this is my service dog. He is not aggressive, he is trained. Please do not approach him in that manner." But their minds, clouded with stereotypes, with assumptions, with the residue of too many confrontations filtered through racial bias, registered only the size of the dog, the tension of the leash, the imagined threat that never was, and in the space of 3 heartbeats, one officer drew his gun, the other shouted, "Shoot before he lunges." And the sharp crack of the pistol shattered the morning calm as Justice yelped, collapsed, his body quivering on the asphalt, and Cassandra screamed, falling to her knees, her hands scrambling desperately across the warm fur she could not see but could feel trembling under her palms, tears flowing down her cheeks as she shouted, "You killed my eyes, you fools, he was my lifeline, my service dog, my friend." But the officers, faces hard with the smug armor of authority, muttered something about public safety and aggressive animals, never imagining who exactly this woman was, until the crowd began to gather, neighbors pulling out phones, one whispering, "That's Judge Milton, the federal judge from the courthouse," and the other murmuring, "Oh God, they don't even know who they just messed with," and the ripple of recognition spread faster than the office's excuses, because Cassandra Milton was not just a woman, not just blind, not just black. She was a symbol of law, order, and justice, and in that moment, the irony of her dog's name, Justice, was not lost on anyone, least of all the bleeding, panting animal gasping in her arms as she called frantically for someone to summon a vet, an ambulance, anything that could undo the reckless trigger-happy action of the men in blue, who now stood pale and trembling, the weight of realization dawning on them like a slow, merciless sunrise, because in their arrogance, they had not only harmed a service animal, they had shot the beloved companion of a federal judge who had the ear of Congress, the power of the courts, and the unshakable will to fight for accountability. The aftermath unfolded like a political thriller, with headlines screaming across the nation within hours. Cops shoot blind black woman's service dog, and the subtext spreading like wildfire across social media. They shot Justice. The symbolism was too powerful to ignore, and within hours, activists, journalists, and ordinary citizens were marching, chanting, filling the streets with signs that read, "Justice for Justice," while the police department scrambled to craft a narrative of officer safety and perceived threat. But the body cam footage, the footage, leaked by a whistleblower within the department, showed the truth in brutal clarity, the calm, composed judge, the wagging tail of a Labrador that posed no threat, the escalating voices of officers who manufactured danger where none existed, and then the shot that silenced more than a dog, it silenced the illusion of professionalism. Cassandra, though devastated, though grieving as Justice fought for his life on an operating table, turned her anguish into fire, standing before cameras outside the courthouse only 2 days later with dark glasses covering her sightless eyes and her cane tapping firmly against the ground, declaring in a voice that carried the authority of years on the bench, "What was shot on that street was not just my dog. It was the truth about a system that sees threat where there is none, that sees danger in blackness, that sees shadows instead of light. But let me make this clear. I may have lost my eyes long ago, and today I nearly lost the companion who has been my vision, but I will never lose sight of justice, and I will not rest until accountability is served. Her words electrified the nation, turning her from a respected jurist into an icon, a living symbol of resistance against systemic prejudice, and the twists kept coming, for when investigators dug into the office's histories, they uncovered patterns of misconduct, unreported assaults, doctored reports, falsified claims of resisting arrest, and suddenly, this single incident was not just about one dog, it was about an entire system unraveling at the seams, a system caught in its own web of lies. But the most shocking twist arrived weeks later in the courtroom, where Judge Milton herself recused from the bench and became the plaintiff in a landmark civil rights case, flanked by a team of high-powered attorneys and backed by organizations ranging from the ACLU to disability rights groups to animal welfare advocates, each recognizing the unique power of her case to unite causes, to tear down walls, to make the world see what blindness had not hidden from her. That the law must be equal, or it is nothing. The trial riveted the nation, broadcast live on television, with millions watching as witnesses described the office's reckless behavior, as the vet testified to the suffering endured by Justice, who miraculously survived after multiple surgeries but would never again guide his owner. His career ended by a bullet that should never have been fired. And when Cassandra took the stand, the courtroom fell silent, her testimony a blend of raw pain and searing intellect as she recounted how it felt to cradle the lifeblood of her companion as officers dismissed her pleas, how it felt to be blind yet to see so clearly the prejudice in their voices, the contempt in their tone, and how it felt to know that her blackness, her disability, her very humanity had been devalued in the split second it took for a trigger to be pulled. By the end of her testimony, jurors were wiping tears, reporters were scribbling furiously, and the officers sat pale and sweating, their fates hanging by a thread woven from their own arrogance. The verdict came down like thunder: guilty of misconduct, liable for damages in the millions, and more importantly, guilty in the court of public opinion where careers were shattered, reputations destroyed, and a movement galvanized for justice, had grown into a national campaign for reform, demanding stricter accountability, mandatory training, and above all, a recognition of the humanity in every citizen regardless of race, disability, or status. Yet the final twist came not in the courtroom, but in the heart of Cassandra Milton herself, for though she had won legally, though she had exposed corruption, though she had sparked reform, she returned home one evening to the quiet emptiness of her house, sat down by Justice's side as he rested peacefully in retirement, and whispered through tears, "They tried to take you from me, but they could not take the bond we share, and they will never take the fight from me." And in that moment, she realized that her blindness had never been her weakness, her dog had never been just an aid, and her battle was never just about herself. It was about every unseen victim, every unheard cry, every injustice hiding in plain sight. And so the story of a blind black woman and her dog became the story of a nation forced to look in the mirror, a nation forced to ask, when we shot justice, what did we kill inside ourselves?